This is going to be an interesting one, a track battle between these two beautiful cars behind me. On the surface at least, this one's over before it's already begun, right? What business do we have racing a mid-engine supercar against what is essentially a family sedan? As you may have guessed, all is not quite meets the eye because this is the Lucid Air Sapphire, the top of the tree Lucid Air, and it boasts pretty unfathomable numbers. Its 3 electric motors produce 1,234 horsepower and 1,430 pound-feet of torque. I've said those numbers many times and it doesn't get any less impressive the more you hear it. Of course, the McLaren boasts its own very impressive numbers. That beautiful twin-turbocharged V8 generates 740 horsepower and 590 pound-feet of torque. There's actually an interesting tale to tell as to why we're running this track comparison. When we first drove the Sapphire some months ago, we asked Lucid, what should we compare it against? And he said, whatever you do, don't compare it against a Tesla, that's been done. But they specifically said, compare it against a mid-engine supercar. We think it can hang with a McLaren. We couldn't make it happen then, but we can make it happen here at Performance Vehicle of the Year. So we're going to. Lucid kind of asked for this, right? This is what they suggested to us would be an adequate comparison and what they thought would end up reflecting really well on their 5,300 pound 4-door sedan. So, we'll set the baseline here in the 750S. We're not doing lap times. What I'm trying to gauge is chassis feel, body roll, suspension, steering turn-in, braking, power delivery. And I've got to say, across those disciplines, the McLaren is kind of hard to beat. I can really push it. You can really push it. And of course, with that proactive chassis control, their 3rd generation of fully automatic chassis control, adaptive dampers, electronic anti-roll. This car ain't going nowhere. It's doing everything it needs to keep pointing the right way, to adjust the 4 corners of the car, ensure maximum grip, maximum power delivery, all that downforce from the wing. It's nimble, it's light, but it feels planted, it doesn't feel unsettled, it feels like it's at one with the asphalt. It's not dancing on top of it, it's cutting through it. Wow, gear changes are violent. Something we won't have to experience in the Lucid, of course, though with 1,234 horsepower, I hazard a guess that the acceleration will have a tendency to be more jarring. I'm losing my breath. Wow, okay, so we've established the McLaren is, every bit the lethal track weapon you'd imagine. Let's get in the Lucid and see how it compares. I'm going to jump straight in, back to back them. Give us the maximum amount of comparative time. Oh, gosh. The grip. If I make it through that corner without understeering in the Lucid, I'll be mightily impressed. If I thought the Lucid had a tough task ahead of it before, having driven the McLaren and having been thoroughly impressed by it, I now cannot imagine the Lucid being able to compete. Having said that, this car has impressed me every time I've driven it. So, with that, right then Lucid, let's see what you can do. Oh, listen to that. The turn in. This thing's just too big and too wide. A little bit of understeer there. A lot of chassis roll. The power is there. The power will kind of propel you through the corner and feels quicker than the McLaren. It has to be quicker, right? This is in fact the quickest quarter-mile production vehicle we've ever tested in 75 years of MotorTrend testing, which is you know, miraculous, isn't it? Okay, coming around the bowl. I mean, the suspension is holding up admirably, considering it's working with 53 odd 100 pounds of car. Brakes, yeah, brakes are okay. The brakes do a good job. Comparative to the McLaren, come on, of course, the McLaren is just sharper, right? But considering this thing weighs 5,300, these brakes do a good job. The pedal's dead. The pedal is DOA. There's no feedback. Listen to that. Listen to that. Oh, yeah. So quite a lot of understeer there. And then you get to a straight, and the Lucid just, you know, does its thing. As predicted, I'm sliding around in the seat a little bit. Look, here's that corner we said. Yeah, we're holding on to that double apex line, but whoa, yeah, that got a little bit close. That got a little bit tasty for my liking. Pushing it, the power gives you the confidence to push, and then between the weight, the bad body roll, and the limit of the tires, they're good tires, but they have their limits. You kind of end up steering into no man's land a little bit. Oof. Having said that, you can't look past the fact that this is four-seater. This is a four-door production vehicle, and I'm doing 100 miles an hour here and can steer with one finger. You know, it is remarkable. Comparing it to McLaren, is that a bridge too far? Possibly. Admirable effort, Lucid, very admirable. Can you imagine what it would be like if these guys made a sports car? They've given us the executive sedan, they've got an SUV on the way. What is next for this company? The party piece is the acceleration, right? Of course. And it's effortless. It's insane. The only thing that tips you off to the fact that you're crossing the line over into treble figures is the wind noise. There's nothing else. In case you can't tell, I have run out of steam. After driving that McLaren and then this Lucid back to back, I was ruined. Because wow, that is a lot of horsepower. In summary, the McLaren is phenomenal. A near perfect supercar, completely at home on the track and, to my mind, without fault. That isn't to say that the Lucid isn't a spectacular effort. It's a wonderfully livable, premium-feeling luxury car, which also just so happens to have 1,200 horsepower. The Sapphire does a very, very good impression of a supercar, but electric motors can only do so much, and of course, when it comes time to brake and corner, the physics catch up with you fast, as those squealing tyres will attest. By comparison, I never got close to finding the limit of the McLaren, and even if I were to have, I suspect the car would have found something extra to keep pushing me further than I could push it. Comparing it against the Lucid is unfair, but hey, this is what they wanted. It's worth noting this thing would absolutely destroy the McLaren in a drag race, so whilst it doesn't have poise McLaren can boast in the corners, in the straight, the Lucid would have its day.